showing you how to make a fishbowl slushy slime. All you're going to need is some clear glue, but I recommend using some food colouring and also some glitter just to make it super pretty. After you stir that all in, you can start adding your activator, and we don't want to fully activate it because we want it to be super sticky. I actually kind of like mine semi like a glue still when I'm adding my beads, just so it holds it really firmly, and I know my beads won't fall out when I fully activated it. So I start by adding my fishbowl beads and then start adding my slushy beads very gradually, and as you can see here, my slime actually stayed a bit sticky, so after I stirred it all in, I added a tiny bit of activator just to lose the stickiness, and I ended up with such a good crunch. The next slime we're going to be making is butter slime, and for this we're going to need a really basic slime recipe. The recipe I like using has PVA glue in it, 8 pumps of lotion, 10 pumps of foaming hand wash, and about a cup of shaving foam. After we've added all of those ingredients, we can go ahead and stir it in, and once we've got that all stirred in into a really even consistency, we can go with our paint or food colouring. I like using the Crayola washables in yellow for this method, and I stir it in, and after I do that, I just activate it until it becomes a really nice sticky texture. I like to activate it fully, but if it's a bit sticky, that works really well as well. Then the next ingredient we're going to need is our Crayola Model Magic Clay. I like to add loads and loads of lotion to this to really soften it up, and as you can see here, it's super tough, and when you add the lotion, it does fall apart a bit, but if you keep kneading it, it becomes really soft and such a nice texture. When it gets to this stage, we can go ahead and add it to our regular slime that we made earlier, and this did take me a while to knead in, probably about 5 minutes, just because the clay is so thick, but once it's kneaded in, it's such a nice texture. And if you didn't add enough lotion to your Model Magic, your slime might be a bit rubbery, but you can fix this just by adding lotion to the regular slime and it will be super smooth. Last but not least, we have our bubblegum slime, and for this we're going to need some PVA glue, 2 cups of shaving foam, 10 pumps of foaming hand wash, 5 pumps of lotion, and about 7 pumps of foaming facial cleanser. You can just use those ingredients, but personally I like to add about 4 tablespoons of baby powder and 3 tablespoons of cornstarch just to make it a bit thicker when it's fully activated. Then when you have mixed it all in, you can go ahead and add whatever colour you want, but to stay true to the bubblegum colour, I added some pink. I then went ahead and activated it, and it didn't take very long because of how much shaving foam I put in, and when it came out and you played with it for a while, it was just such a nice texture. It was so thick and fun to play with. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also frosting slime, and I really hope that you enjoy this video. First thing we're going to need for all of the recipes is some instant snow, and this isn't pre-made snow. This is a powder that you add water to and it forms snow, and as you can see here, it kind of has a weird texture at first, so what I just do is play with it in my hand, and once it's expanded and become fluffy, I just pop it to the side. First time I'm going to be showing you how to make is cloud slime, and for this we're going to need some white PVA glue, foaming face wash, and also some shaving foam, and this is just to make a really thick base because we want it to be a really, it's weird to want this, but you need a really rubbery hard slime, and this is because the instant snow melts the slime so much, so you want to activate it way more than you would a normal slime and just add loads and loads of borax, and when you're playing with the slime, you almost want it to be at the ripping stage, and if you want, you can have it at the ripping stage because the slime is going to fix. So as you can see here, from adding a bit of instant snow, the slime is already a lot softer, and the more you add, the softer the slime becomes. Once you've added your first batch of snow, it's quite important to not add too much, and you do need to keep dipping it in and playing with it, but you want to test it by just stretching it out, and once it gets to this stage, you know it's done, and it's so fun to play with, and it should fall really smoothly. Next up we have icy slime, and this is such an easy recipe. All we're going to need for this is some icy colouring if you want it, and also some fake snow. It's important not to add too much snow to this because you can get a cloud slime effect, and with this you want it to get to what looks like a body scrub, like a sugar body scrub. So once it gets to this texture, you want to stop adding your snow and just go in with your activator, and for this I'm using 1 teaspoon of borax to 2 cups of warm water because I'm using clear slime, and you just want to keep playing with your hands with this because obviously there's a lot of snow in it and it does fall apart, so you just need to keep pulling at it, and at first it is kind of like a cloud slime if you don't activate it too much, as you can see here, but once you add all of your activator, it turns into a really nice crunchy icy slime. Last but not least, we have frosting slime, and for this we're going to need some white PVA glue and some cornstarch, and we're basically going to be making a cream cheese base to start off with. So this is going to have a lot of cornstarch and have a lot of shaving foam as well, just to create a really thick mixture. And after we've done that, you can also go in with some colouring, and I'm using a washable paint. Because washables are kind of water-based, it does loosen your mixture a bit. So if you find that your mixture is quite runny, we want it to be super thick, so go in some more cornstarch and just stir it up until it's a bit thicker. And then after that, we can go in with our activator. And I'm using 1 teaspoon of borax to 1 cup of warm water. And I added loads at first because I knew this was going to take so much. Because whenever I add cornstarch once, it's so impossible to stir and it takes so long. So I added it all in one batch and played with it for ages with my hand. And then after adding a little bit more borax, it became fully activated, and I just went in with my fake snow. And you want to add this handful by handful, and this gives a really nice butter slime effect in this base. And as you can see here, the texture really changes even from the first handful. I think I put in about 5 handfuls in total. And also, it becomes so buttery that I was just like, you know what would make this better? Adding a clay to this. And I added some Daiso clay just to thicken up the mix and also make it a bit better. But before I did that, I just went in with my activator again because, like I said earlier, the fake snow really melts the slime. Then for the final touch, I just went in with my Daiso clay and mixed it all up. And as you can see here, it really is already quite buttery from the fake snow in this mix. Like, I don't know what causes it, but it looks like a butter slime. So adding the clay just pulls the texture together and gives it a little bit more sizzle. Thank you so much for watching slime. And the first slime is dealing with a couple of hot things, so I do recommend asking your parents for some help. We're going to be baking candle slime, so the first ingredient is obviously a candle. I recommend getting the small one from Yankee Candle and just popping the wick out at the bottom. After you've done that, you want to pop it in the microwave until it melts. Then you want to pour in the equal amount of glue as you have wax into the bowl. And it needs to be equal, because if it isn't, then the slime can come out feeling really oily and it's a bit gross. So to be on the safe side, I do recommend just putting a tiny bit more glue than you have wax. Then we want to go ahead and stir it all in, and because the glue is cold and the wax isn't, the wax is going to clump up in the glue. So once it reaches this stage, we want to pop it back in the microwave for a couple of seconds. Then we want to stir it all in and leave it to sit for about 15 minutes. After we've done that, we want to microwave it one last time and then leave it to sit for an hour. After this hour, it normally goes really smooth, and once it reaches this stage, I like to go in with my activator. I'm using borax and water, and I start adding it really slowly just so everything pulls together. I recommend using your hands to go in with this because, as you can see here, the slime really stuck to my spatula, but after I played with it for a while, it became really smooth. Next up, we have crunchy glitter slime, and for this we're going to need a couple of things. The first being some clear glue, and if you want this clear glue to turn gold, I recommend using a pigment. I'm using a fine glitter from Barry M, and this is in the shade gold. For the crunch, I just used some different size glitters. The first glitter I use is from Amazon, and this is just a basic glitter, and the second one is a manicure glitter. And I like the manicure ones because these are really solid ones, so they create a really nice crunch when the glitter rubs against each other. I always find that when I first start stirring this in, it's so pretty, and then at the end it's so ugly because of all the air bubbles in the clear slime. So once it gets to this really ugly stage, you know it's ready to stir in, and I add a tiny bit of activator and keep stirring it. Once it's all pulled together, I just pop it into a box, and for some added crunch, I go back in with my chunky nail glitter and add a layer to the top. Last but not least is glossy slime, and for this we're going to need to add some PVA glue, a bit of shaving foam just to add some fluffiness to the slime, and then we're going to add our moisture, which is going to make the gloss. I like to use 2 tablespoons of lotion followed by 2 tablespoons of hair conditioner, and then I add some colour just to make it a bit prettier. Once you've stirred in all the ingredients, you can then go ahead with your activator and stir it all in. I find that this gets really thick, so I do like to add some activator and go into my hands once it's reached this stage, and after I've activated it, I just pop it into a box. And the main reason for popping it into a box is because of all the flat surfaces, it allows all the moisture to go to the bottom and it becomes super glossy. I recommend leaving it overnight to get the maximum gloss, but this is what it looks like after being left for half an hour.